You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
Your co-host, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today. NFL talk, a little bit on the national championship game, and what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. But first, Danny, right into the NFL, and where the last week of the season, the only game that I was interested in is that of the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears, the longest standing rivalry in all of NFL. And the Packers prevailed 17-9. Jordan Love, man, listen, he started off okay, then it was a little rocky, and then he ended brilliantly the season. He goes off, and basically the Packers were in this situation where if they win, they're in.
Yep.
If they lose, they're out. And they went ahead and took this game, man. Jordan Love throws for 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and this a great game by him. I would say this, Danny. I was really hoping that the Packers would face the Detroit Lions in the first round of the playoffs. One thing people have to realize is these Green Bay Packers, they are the youngest team in the NFL, and now they're the youngest team in playoff history. So I was hoping that they would face off against a known opponent in their division against the Detroit Lions. But they go ahead and play the Cowboys in this first round, Danny. I don't know. This Cowboys defense is stout. Our defense, the soft spot is always in the middle of the field. It never fails. The opposing team is third and long. What happens? They throw it in the middle of the field. Hell, you can say that about second down. If it's second down and long for the opposing team, what can they do? Throw it in the middle of the field. This is going to be an interesting game, playoff game by the Green Bay Packers. I would say all the other games to me was, it was just the last game of the season. A lot of people making money based on some contractual obligations by the NFL teams. If a certain number of sacks are made, receiving yards, touchdowns, rushing yards, whatever the case may be, whatever stipulations in the contract or this last game was really meant for that. What say you, Danny, about the last week of the NFL season?
Well, Jason, one thing of note with the Packer game was people are a little worried because of what happened last year. It was the same scenario. Winning, you're in. They're at home. And the Bears came in trying to prove something. And they fell short. There are a couple calls, man. I don't know about Justin Fields. They don't give him calls at all. He was getting rocked upside the head and all these calls that other quarterbacks may get. He was not getting anything. So that's why I felt for him a little bit. But, the Bears tried and they fell short. So now the Packers get an opportunity to get in the playoffs, get some experience. And like you said, across the middle, who they got? CeeDee Lamb. And that's all he do is go across the middle.
All he do, man. So this is going to be a long game.
So we'll see. You never know, man. You never know. Teams have folded in the past. But one other game of note this past weekend I want to call out was the Atlanta Falcons, my boys, facing the New Orleans Saints. And the significance of this game was whoever wins this game had an opportunity to take the NFC South if Tampa Bay lost to Carolina. Tampa Bay won, but it was Carolina actually gave them a game. The Falcons were tied 17-17 at half and lost 48-17, 31-0 run by the Saints in the second half. Desmond Ritter started off hot, had over 200 yards in the first half, 2 touchdowns. Bijan had a long touchdown reception. And then Desmond Ritter turned into Desmond Ritter in the second half, threw some picks, and then the tide, the momentum, everything just shifted. And being in New Orleans, that didn't make it any better. And it was one of those games too where Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, he was going back and forth on Arthur Smith. This game, I thought the team quit on him. I thought that was actually the week before in the Chicago game, but this game, first half, I'm like, all right, you're actually playing for him. You know, it had some hypeness, and then that second half, I was like, oh, heck no. Change has to be made, and change was made. They fired Arthur Smith. I think it was the right move. We just don't have a quarterback, and we need a quarterback. Whoever they bring in, I don't care who it is, if we don't have a quarterback to support this team, we're going to be in the same boat. So that's the number one priority in the offseason. I don't know what they have to do or who is available that they can possibly bring in. But Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke ain't it. They're good as backups, but not as starters. I'm curious to see how this offseason goes for us. We have the 8th pick overall again. I'm assuming it's not an offensive player unless it's a quarterback. But they do need an edge rusher big time. And it was just a sad season for us, considering all the games we blew in the fourth quarter and then icing on the cake these last 2 games. So we'll see, man. A lot of rumors out there, and just wait to see what comes to fruition.
With regards to the NFL playoffs, Saturday games, Browns against the Texans in Houston, Dolphins at Kansas City. My prediction, that Browns-Texans game is going to be actually really good. The Browns defense has stepped up tremendously. Texans, C.J. Stroud has been balling. This one's a hard one for me to pick, man. I feel like this. If it was in the cold, I would go Browns. This is in the state, in the dome. So I'm leaning a little towards the Texans, but defense travels. So I'm torn on that game. The Dolphins-Kansas City game, to me, that's going to be a blowout. It's going to be 0 degrees, man, in Kansas City. For Miami to travel to that, come on, man. You know what time it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Steelers-Bills, Bills got that one, in my opinion. Packers-Cowboys, this game is on Sunday, 4:30 game, toss-up. I can see the young Packers not caring about their age. All they're caring about is winning. But that defense is shaky. Prescott can throw some interceptions, man. But I can see them going with CD Lamb, like you said, all day, every day. Rams, Lions, whew. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a very good game. But I'm going to roll with the Lions on this one.
Okay.
And last but not least, Monday night, Eagles, Buccaneers. Eagles have been in a downward spiral. I'm going to have to roll with Buccaneers, man. But I'm rooting for the Eagles on this one. I really am. What say you, Dave?
In that Texans game, I'm waiting to see the injury report because there's been rumors of a lot of key people on both sides of the ball for the Cleveland that may not be able to play. But if they do play, I'm gonna go Cleveland. Just because of their defense. Joe Flacco is the key though, because Joe Flacco has been balling, but this could be that dud game that everyone's been expecting. So this is where I could see Houston winning, but I'm going to go with Cleveland. Kansas City game, I'm going to go Kansas City just because of the cold weather and they're able to deal with it and they can put pressure on Tua. So Tyreek's going to try to get his because, playing against his boys, his former team, but I think this is Kansas City's game to lose, actually. Buffalo, Steelers, I'm going Buffalo. TJ Watt's not playing. So this is a big advantage to Buffalo. But you've seen Buffalo in the past. couple of these games coming into the playoffs where the teams they're supposed to blow out, they barely beat them. But I think Buffalo takes it. Cowboys, Packers, we'll go Cowboys here. Dak is, you know how he is in the playoffs. But I think Dallas's defense will be the key here. If they get pressure on Jordan Love and make him force some throws, that could be a benefit to the Cowboys. And then CeeDee Lamb, if he can keep playing at that level he's been playing at, they should be good. And Jake Ferguson, actually, I'm going to call him out too because he's in the middle of the field too. So he can exploit them. That Rams, Lions, Sam Laporta may play. And I think that's the key to this game, honestly. Even if he's just out there as a decoy, I'm going to go Lions with you, man. I can see the Rams, though, winning because Detroit's secondary is terrible. That's the Achilles heel to this defense. Their run defense is really good, which will stop Kyron Williams or at least slow him down. But that secondary can be had. So that's my only fear with Detroit. And then Tampa, Philadelphia, man. You talk about two teams limping into the playoffs. If AJ Brown plays, I'm gonna go with Philly. I think they can put it together, but their defense has been atrocious. So if they can do anything of note on defense, they'll at least slow down Mike Evans. I think they have a good shot at winning. So I'm gonna go Philly with the upset.
And now, Danny, on to the national championship game in college football, where the Michigan Wolverines have actually prevailed. Well, not prevailed. They went ahead and took this thing, man, against the Washington Huskies, 34-13. I don't think this to me was a surprise. I was thinking Michigan was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a surprise that it took into the fourth quarter for them to really take full control over the game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be a little bit earlier. But nonetheless, man, J.J. McCarthy throws for 140 yards, 10 for 18. The big thing here with Michigan was their rushing game, where Corum had 134 yards, Edwards had 104 yards, especially in the first half. The first half was crucial.
Yes.
For the Huskies, man, because they could not stop the run at all. But they hung in there. At half, it was 17-10. I thought it should have been even a bigger deficit. I thought this was going to be a blowout in the first half with all the rushing that Michigan was doing. But Huskies, they stood pat, held Michigan to in the second half to lesser numbers there rushing wise, but Michigan goes ahead and does this thing, man. What say you, Danny, about this national championship game?
Well, Jason, I was actually rooting for the Huskies. I just wanted to see Penix get that national championship. Washington's been an underdog all season, and they kept pulling it out. And I thought this game was setting up that way, like you said, because the way Michigan came out and when they had that first touchdown run, like, uh-oh. But then they kind of held. And then that third quarter, Washington, Penix was off, but then they had a couple drops and some key penalties. So it was a lot going on the Washington side of the ball that they just couldn't overcome from the defensive side because there was just too many opportunities that they didn't take advantage of. So it was a great season for Washington, man. It was they have a lot of good talent on both sides of the ball, so we'll see them at the next level. And then on the Michigan side, yeah, the running game, man, Corum really got going in that fourth quarter. So it was Edwards kind of carrying them through those first couple touchdowns he ran, and then Corum had the next two. And he had a great career, and we'll see what he does at the next level. Eventful year for Michigan. So for them, for all the, scandal and rumors and all this other stuff going on, it's kind of bittersweet to see them win. But now we'll get to see what happens with Jim Harbaugh, if he goes back to the pros or not. I think this is a great opportunity for him to walk off, get away from the college game and all that's going on there, and throw his hat back into the ring in the pros. There are a lot of opportunities that are available. We'll see. We'll see where he ends up. He has a lot of places he can go, and he'll get paid no matter where he goes. It'd be nice to see him in Atlanta, actually. If they can bring a quarterback in, he can work with the quarterback because that's his specialty. So congratulations to the Wolverines on the national championship.
Now, Danny, on to the Milwaukee Bucks, and where we still don't know what the hell's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks, man. Giannis goes ahead and he puts it out there. They need to do better. The equipment manager needs to do better. Cleaner clothes. I mean, the whole night, he just went after everybody, man, but it doesn't matter, man. Because Utah Jazz comes into Milwaukee and just puts like 77 points on them in the first half. I don't know what's going on in the locker room. I honestly believe it's the coaching staff, man. Dame did not play in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't necessarily blame Dame for his defensive showing against the Jazz. I don't know what the Bucks do by trade deadline. I don't know what assets they have to trade at this juncture. I don't know who would you trade at this juncture. I'll be afraid to trade Connington because great locker room guy, especially with Bobby Portis, and he's great in the community.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely don't trade Bobby Portis. Jay Crowder is someone who we're missing, but Jay Crowder is not going to solve all the problems that we have. So I don't know where we go from here. Beasley has been balling. That was a great pickup, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's just that defensively, I don't know what we do here. I don't think giving the team practice time is going to help. I know there's been mentions that they just don't have time for practice, but what the hell you got to do on an airplane from game to game? I just don't understand that part, Danny. I think you can do film work, and I think you can indicate what you're trying to do on the defensive side of the ball. You can do that several times over on the plane. Maybe they're trying to get some rest on the plane, whatever. I don't know. Something needs to happen. We are now in January, close to mid-January. It's going to be time for the All-Star break. But to that point, Danny, there's also the trade deadline, and you're already halfway through the season.
Yep.
By All-Star game, more than halfway through the season by the time All-Star break rolls around. So Milwaukee Bucks has a lot of work to do. Horst is going to have to do something. He's already done something by getting Dame. He's going to have to do something by getting more defensive help. What say you, Danny, about these Milwaukee Bucks?
And the crazy part about this whole thing is they're still in second place in the Eastern Conference. And they have, the third or fourth overall record, like winning percentage. So it's not like they're Detroit, where Detroit is at the bottom. But it's one of those things where it's just still inconsistency. And they have a little homestand here coming up. They have Boston in tomorrow night. So can't wait to see how they play there. And they have the Warriors and I believe the Kings. But then after that, I think they have Cleveland and Detroit the next 5. And so those are winnable games for them. But I don't know. I just can't put my finger on what they're doing. I know defensively they're terrible. They're hard to watch on defense because they played San Antonio last week. And key contributor to our text stream called out the play that was going to happen at the end of the game where San Antonio was going to have a wide open 3-pointer. And they did. And he just missed. So it's one of those things where they're not moving on defense. And a lot of this is effort. So some of it, too, is are they starting to quit on coach, try to get him fired, or you just don't know the motivation behind some of this play? I think Jay Crowder not being there is a big part of this, but he was there earlier when they were struggling too. So it's, I don't know. I think a change will have to be made because Giannis keeps making these comments. So something's going to have to change. And I know he is one, he was the sign off on the coach. So if coach leaves, he has to take some accountability for this too, because I would call him the leader of the team. I know Dame is, a veteran and a superstar in this league, but this is Giannis's team. And if things aren't happening right, then he needs to, keep motivating the team. And I think too, some of it is, I think he handles the ball too much still.
Yep.
And some of the team on the offensive side of the ball is just sitting there like, you can kind of see it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's stagnant. Mm-hmm. He's getting his, but all these other players need to get theirs too. So I think it's a combination of things right now. And I think it'll come to a head by All-Star break if like the wheels completely fall off and they have a big losing streak or something. But if they keep having these win 3, lose 2, and they're still in the second spot, it's going to be hard to fire the coach unless internally that someone says fire him.
Yep. And I'll say this, defensive wise, the Milwaukee Bucks ranked 22 out of 30. They ranked 22 out of 30 teams in the NBA in defensive ratings. And so that's bad. This is coming from a team who just a year ago was ranked, 1 or 2 in all the NBA. So yeah, there's got to be something here that needs to be done. So I don't know, Danny. We'll see. Something's going to have to happen quickly.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.